Thanks for everybody for joining us. Today we want to talk about what can you do? Why do we have the 21st century Eucharistic miracles? Why do we have the Shroud of Turin? Why do we have the near-death experiences? Why do we have the Big Bang Theory? God is trying to help us, as we've said many times, to reveal the truth. That we wouldn't have science if we didn't have a knowable world that was created that follows natural laws. So God created both the material world and the immaterial world. The material world, he had to create a universe that would be life permitting, and we've talked about that with the Big Bang Theory. And then our life comes from God directly, which is our soul. We talked about that with near-death experiences. And then the Shroud of Turin is evidence that we really are bodies, which follows natural laws, does resurrect. That's what the Shroud of Turin demonstrates, and is also truly the second person of the Trinity, body, blood, soul, and divinity. And then the 21st century Eucharistic miracles also show that. So what do we do in this modern world where people tell us that science has disproven God and that all this is a myth? Well, number one, you couldn't have science unless you had a knowable, logical world, right? Remember, we're made in the likeness of image of God. And so if things just popped out of nothing, then you couldn't have science, right? Science relies upon natural laws that are followed and that things are repeatable, right? So science is going to point to a creator, and that's someone, as we said, the Big Bang has to be outside of space and time. So since we are in soul bodies, that means what we need to do is we need to connect with our creator. And
right.
That creator
right.
is in heaven. Our real home is in heaven. What the world tells us is that our home is earth. Our bodies come from planet Earth, but our souls do not. Our real home is in heaven. And that's what really all these miracles are showing, is that there's a all-loving creator God that created the universe out of nothing, created our lives out of nothing, and our real home is in heaven. And so that's what we're missing. And we try to replace that with other things. The material world, that's what the world focuses on, the material world, the accidents of humanity, not our souls, not what our intellect and will really is. It's geared toward. That's why we're having such a crisis of despair, anxiety, depression, suicide attempts, drug overdoses, violence, is because we as humans, to flourish, have to act according to our nature. Well, our nature is, our real home is in heaven. We are embodied souls, as we've gone through all this evidence. And so how do we do that? Well, we were created to be in communion with God. That's what communion is about. We're created to be a community. We have male and female that are complementary. We're all meant to be in communion. That's what marriage is. That's what heaven is, the wedding feast. And that's what our real home is. And so that's where our real happiness and human flourishing will occur. What we're having in our modern culture and our woke culture is that the divisiveness that our worth is based only on what we do, right? Only about if we're a celebrity or if we make a lot of money. Whereas God sees us, we're his creation. He created us, so we all have a little bit of God in us, right? That life comes directly from God. And so that's where our true happiness is.
That's right. And to use a word that you used in the last segment, transubstantiation. A lot of people say, well, that's a bit medieval. It's not. It's really the reality of what we can accomplish here and now by adoring the Eucharist. And it just occurred to me during the week, there's a process of how this happened. And the process is, we have the creation of God, in wheat and grapes. Simple. Humanity, with the help of God, creates bread and wine. And then God creates the body and blood of Christ at the Eucharist. That's why the moment of the consecration, or depending on your theology, the moment of the canon, I suppose if you're Eastern Orthodox, the point is it changes.
Right.
And
Substance changes.
As you said, the substance changes.
Yes.
And that's why we have some simple things. Eucharistic adoration is so fundamental because that helps us transform ourselves into a space where we can experience the divine, both in the host and exciting us.
Every saint has had a huge Eucharistic devotion because they recognize God is the source of life. He's the source of the material world. He's the source of the immaterial world. And so that's what our real home is. That's where we really go. And as we've discussed with the near-death experiences, they all have this sense of peace. They don't want to come back because heaven, that's really where our fulfillment is. And so that's really what human flourishing is. We're all geared to heaven. We're at this point, everyone's life on planet Earth is short, but we have an immortal soul because our souls don't come from the material world. So we have an immortal soul, and that soul goes to one destination or the other. We get to choose that. And so if we align ourselves with God, we can end up in heaven. If we think we're God, then we go awry. And that's the problem that we're facing right now, is that the world keeps telling us that, no, you can decide who you are, what sex you are. No, we didn't create ourselves. It really goes back to the fall, is we wanted to be God without God. And we can't. A creature can't be greater than himself.
It doesn't work.
We don't create ourselves.
It just doesn't work.
We don't create ourselves. And so something outside of time and space had to create us. And so that's what the science shows, and that's why God waited till the 21st century. In the fullness of time, just like Jesus came, in the fullness of time, he's kept the shroud around for us. It's been in two fires. The father of lies is trying to get rid of it because it's evidence of the resurrection. The Eucharistic miracles are evidence that we are a body-soul composite, both coming directly from God, the soul directly from God, the body, yes, through the natural world, but he created the natural world to be life permitting. This is the fundamental reality. Truth is reality, and we don't live in a reality-based world right now.
And just one comment about an addition word: love, peace, and love. Through the near-death experience,
peace and love. They feel this love, this presence, this loving presence, and they lose their fear of death because we have an immortal soul, and they feel this love. And they meet dead relatives. They meet people they didn't even know. It's this love. God is love. We were loved into existence by Creator.